Sometimes, just saying hello takes every ounce of strength you have. You do not hate people, nor are you particularly introverted, but you know deep down that even a few minutes of small talk can grind away the little energy left in your heart like grains of sand. In a crowd, you blend in just right, neither too loud nor too quiet. And others see you as perfectly balanced, polite, able to keep a conversation going and respond appropriately. Yet they have no idea that after each reply, it takes you a long time to steady your breathing again. You smile at parties while listening to jokes, nod in agreement, and even chime in with a timely quip. But somewhere inside, a part of you feels hollow, as if a door has been forced shut, leaving you stranded outside. You do not avoid closeness with others. You simply do not know how much effort it will cost to maintain the facade of seeming normal. When someone remarks, "This weather is so hot," you smile and say, "Yeah, summer is really tough." But you leave out the part about nearly missing your morning routine due to anxiety. Spending the day with an empty mind, relying on rote responses to pretend you are still alive. You have grown accustomed to labels like, "You are such a nice person," "You are so steady," or "You are always so calm." But these descriptions never ease your burden. Instead, they feel like tracks you cannot stray from, locking you into a role of normalcy. You are not expressing yourself. You are performing as a script others expect, a set of rules you learned young. Rules that say, "Speak this way," and no one will be upset. Those rules are exhausting, not because they are difficult, but because they prevent you from being authentic. Moments of light conversation, which others see as effortless, feel like performances to you. Even a simple long time no see requires rehearsal in your mind before you dare say it. Fearing a misstep, a lull, or that flicker of awkwardness and annoyance in the other person's eyes. So you become cautious, preparing topics in advance, gauging tone, pace, and inflection, even mentally noting when to smile. No one realizes that in these ordinary interactions, you carry a psychological load far beyond what most imagine. They simply say, "Why are you always so quiet?" then laugh, pat your shoulder, and turn back to their chat while you nod, smile, and pretend to be at ease. But you know those seemingly harmless questions and casual exchanges leave you questioning over and over. Is something wrong with me? In truth, nothing is wrong with you. You are simply too perceptive, too attentive, too eager for everything to go smoothly. So you hide all your weariness, offering the world only the most polished, harmless, and proper version of yourself. The real you, the one who craves silence and escape, stays quietly tucked in a corner, never allowed to emerge. You dislike crowded settings, but never turn down invitations. Even when your inner voice begs to decline 1,000 times, you show up on time, dressed appropriately, with a natural expression and steady voice. You take deep breaths in the elevator, smooth away your fatigue, and the moment you push open the door, you switch into social mode. Friends call you easygoing, colleagues praise your cooperation, and even strangers find you gentle and approachable. They are not wrong, but you never tell them that this apparent goodness is a disguise honed through years of practice. You can hold a smile in a group as long as you keep your true thoughts unspoken, avoiding mistakes or awkwardness. You politely answer every question, even on topics you care nothing about, while feigning just the right amount of interest. You pour drinks at gatherings, nod in meetings, and make small talk in elevators, yet inside you only want to flee. Thus, you master expressive silence, cooperative responses, and saying it's fine when you feel anything but. Over time, your silence grows tame, your smile habitual, your presence perfectly balanced, neither obtrusive nor intimate. Only you know that ending a conversation leaves you gasping like after a long run, finally able to be yourself once the door closes. Your social fatigue stems not from poor communication skills, but from never allowing simple expression. You must always express just right. Before speaking, you run a full rehearsal in your head, even preparing backups for possible misunderstandings. You habitually scan faces for changes. Your ears are tuned to hints of impatience, slight pauses, or shifting gazes. Then swiftly adjust your rhythm and tone to dodge any risk of deadlock. Your mind is not for connecting. It is for defending. When you speak, it is not because you want to, but because silence would make things weird, lead to misjudgments, or plunge you into deeper embarrassment and rumination. This precise yet perilous system makes you highly adaptable, but erodes your ability to be genuine. Through countless interactions, you learn to be comfortable for others. Yet you lose the freedom to be yourself, to be understood, to be permitted. This is not your fault. It is a psychological defense evolved from repeated lessons where mistakes brought punishment. In psychology, this is called over-adaptation, not a virtue, but a survival strategy born of fear. You dread conflict, rejection, or disrupting bonds with your words, so you conceal every sharp edge, presenting only the agreeable you. You cannot even say, "I do not feel like talking," because others would see it as antisocial, rude, or dismissive, so you reply, "Sure, no problem," or go ahead, then smile through topics that bore you. Your smile comes from fear of losing control, not joy. Your silence is suppression, not peace. You weigh every small matter and second-guess yourself in interactions because you treat socializing as an ongoing high-stakes exam where one slip means failure. Your relational pattern is one of confrontational sensitivity. You care so much about others' views that you sacrifice yourself rather than risk dislike. Yet you are not alone. Many who seem most considerate, gentle, and thorough feel the most exhausted, anxious, and unsettled inside. They are not building connections, but wrestling with the fear of rejection. Believe this, you are not flawed. You simply have not yet paused to embrace the self, never allowed to just be. Your exhaustion comes not from inadequacy, but from tiptoeing through life. Your first lesson that silence is safer likely came young. One day, you gathered courage to voice a grievance to your mother, but she frowned and brushed it off with, "Do not overthink it," without hearing you out. Your words stuck in your throat, never fully spoken. Standing at the kitchen door, watching her back as she washed dishes, you suddenly felt your emotions were a nuisance, a burden, an unnecessary extra. You began to remember that moment and the futility of speaking. From thence on, you learnt to filter, saying only what others wanted to hear. Another time at school, you joined a conversation, but your words sparked laughter, not kind, but the sort that made you blush and your heart race. You did not know your error, but you learned not to initiate and to follow others' lead with a laugh. Once more, you shared an opinion earnestly, only for your father to cut you off with, "What do you know?" and the table fell silent. No one glancing your way. You ate in silence, holding back tears, resolving to stay quiet next time. You may forget the details, but your body remembers. Your nervous system learned to contract at moments when expression equaled rejection. You did not become quiet overnight. You tried reaching out repeatedly, only to be stung, ignored, or dismissed, gradually withdrawing by bit. Your adult social fears do not stem from laziness or avoidance, but from past sincerity met without gentleness. You said, "I do not like that," and were called too sensitive. You admitted, "I do not want to go," and were labeled emotional. You fought for yourself and were told ungrateful. So you retreated to silence, mastering nods and smiles, sharing only "I'm okay" or it's fine. You learned self-censorship because authenticity had a price. Each minor experience quietly reshaped your bond with the world, altering how you express and trust. You grew cautious, not from timidity, but from being interrupted, suppressed, or overlooked. You hesitate to connect because an unanswered sharing hurts more than silence. You were not born this way. You learned it long ago, too young to advocate for yourself. You used silence for dignity, smiles to evade blame, compliance for brief peace. Years later, you still recall the sensation of words swallowed, face composed, but inside a void. At some point, you stopped asking, "What do I want to say?" and only, "What happens if I do?" You compiled early experiences into rules, an internal guide for surviving relationships. For example, silence keeps me from attack. Smiling and nodding prevents anger. Saying sorry first ends conflict. You apply these to every interaction, even with those closest. Not from distrust, but habit of self-protection before expression. You crave closeness, but must first verify trustworthiness. No misinterpretation, no quick dismissal. A bar so high few pass. You do not hate making friends. You know, approaching means vulnerability, risk, and you are too weary for another futile attempt. So you handle emotions alone, solving problems solo, becoming the one who never burdens others. Unseen, these defenses isolate you from real bonds. Others see stability, but only you know the cost in suppressed selves. You want to cry but joke, just kidding. You ache but say, no big deal. You crumble but insist, I can handle it. You grow to resent expression, equating it with exposing weakness, wasting energy, or gaining no response. Your heart empties because no one reaches it, and you bar entry. You are not cold. You have gone too long without soft landing to risk falling again. The world feels noisy. Every greeting a chore, every gathering a weight. Even a friend's "how are you" demands long thought. Post-social silence lingers not from content, but from returning to your body after orbiting others. Your heart hardens not from abandoning feeling, but from unbearable repeated letdowns. You tried opening, but each ignored word added a layer, leading to nevermind. You longed for depth, but people prefer light topics, positive vibes, brief chats. Your truths feel too heavy, complex, indigestible. So you seal your lips, folding inward, becoming burden-free emotionally. But you forget the hidden self needs seeing, allowing, holding. Endless compliance loses you. One day you realize the issue is not excess silence or sensitivity, but never being permitted full existence. You see, fatigue comes not from chatting, but suppressing who am I to fit occasions, relationships, societal pace. Your silence is no flaw. It is early mastery of reading cues, dodging risks, self-guarding. Your weariness is no laziness. It is double mental toll per interaction, one for words, one for shields. You never lacked desire for understanding. You learned early that without attentive listeners, better not speak. You do not abandon. You await a listener, needing no mask, no careful words, letting you breathe. You do not flee the world. You shield the self, once negated, interrupted, ignored. You grasp that seeming easygoing hides no scars. Apparent stability conceals no solitary breakdowns you endured alone. You can stay wordless, yet full, quiet, yet rich in feeling and insight. You live just deeper hidden, lighter stepped, smiles measured. You once thought social ease for others, but hardship for you meant inadequacy. But now you see you early prioritized others' comfort over yours. You begin releasing the must-be-proper self, trying authentic expression. Not sudden extroversion, but occasional honesty. Like, I really do not want to talk today. You are not antisocial. You learn self-care trumps pleasing. You are not unfit for groups. You adopt your pace to approach, not theirs to drag. This is awareness dawn. Gentle rebuildings start. You grant yourself patience, no longer scolding the escape-seeking self. You accept some days' muteness as valid tiredness. In social settings, you pause, cease forcing topics, allow silence without anxiety. You learn, I'll listen first. You learn, I'm low on energy for chat today. You stop compelling replies to every message, viewing unread as no guilt, non-participation as no coldness. Slowly, you peel labels, sensible, polite, obedient, mild, setting disguises aside. You find healing is no extroverted shift, no chattiness, but freedom to choose silence or speech. True security is not universal liking, but dropping pretense, cooperation, smiles for fitting in. You permit non-responses in talks, no explanations in ties, quiet in scenes. You practice real self, even. I'm not great today. Ease comes gradually, not instant eloquence, but you feel pauses, breaths possible. You fear misjudgment less, knowing your being needs no constant justification. You set new boundaries, end draining ties. Social prowess no longer gauges worth. You assess by emotional self-care in interactions. Post-gathering emptiness or mid-talk racing hearts persist sometimes, but you self-soothe. I'm okay, I just need time. You can take it slow, stay mostly quiet, embrace silence without shame. You cease despising poor small talk, instead cherishing your depth, sensitivity, nuance with tenderness and value. You see hidden parts outline your truth. You lean towards self, not endless roleplay. You find bonds can build gradually, at your rhythm for nearing, responding, linking. You need no group-pleasing transformation. Just return to the fearless pre-fear you. Healing is never new invention. It is remembering who you were before fear.